Hello, everyone. Welcome to Meaghan Chitwood Live, powered by BNI. Today, we are talking with Bryan Bell, who is with Spec16 Lighting. But what is really cool about Bryan's story is the fact that he built relationships and used BNI in several different businesses to help him be successful. And I think this is a really great lesson for all of us, that our networks aren't just about the companies we're working for. It's about building deep relationships with us personally so that we can ultimately do whatever we want in our professional lives and still be unbelievably successful. So let's get started. And don't forget, you can catch us every Friday at 10 a.m. Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And then you can also catch the replays on LinkedIn as well. So you can also subscribe to meaghanchitwood.com to get each one each week. So with that, Bryan, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Meaghan.
I love it. So I feel like you and I go way back. Your wife did my pictures several years ago. Like you and I have been around for a really long time.
Yeah, for a few years for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So first, tell us a little bit about your business and what your business does.
All right. Well, I have a lighting business, and we specialize in energy efficient LED lighting for commercial spaces. So our main value proposition to business owners that either own or rent commercial space is about a 70% energy savings from traditional lighting. But we do a lot of other things as well. We do lighting design. We're a lighting supplier or distributor for lots of different manufacturers. And we do energy audits as well. So if a company is just looking to see ways that they could become more energy efficient, lighting is a big portion of that. And we can show them the math and the science behind switching over to new technology.
So how did you find this? How did you get into this business?
Well, it's an interesting story. And I really can honestly say, if it weren't for BNI, I never would have gone down the path to eventually get into the lighting business. But through my career path, I started as an architect, and that's what I went to school for. Worked for a firm in Birmingham area for several years. And part-time, I started a home-based leadership business. And at the time, my wife was actually starting her photography business. And though she was, to earn extra income, was cleaning houses, just around town. And I came across someone's house who said, "Hey, you should come visit a BNI meeting." And so she told me, "Hey, Bryan, you should come visit the BNI meeting as well." And so to fast forward, that was about, close to 10 years ago. Since then, I got out of that home-based business, but got into more of a sales job and ended up selling something to someone who was starting a local lighting company and invited me to come join. And so that's how I got into the lighting business, through just being a part of relationships and meeting people out as doing sales jobs. And, from then, I really fell in love with it. It was kind of a good mixture of my construction and architecture background and also building relationships and selling. And that was, I think, in 2013. And in 2019, I had the opportunity to go out on my own. And, some doors open, I walked through them, and I haven't looked back. So
what would you say is the biggest difference from being a salesperson for that business and being the business owner of it?
Oh, wow. Well, being a business owner is the ultimate sales job. You're always selling, obviously, and I'm sure you know that as well. But, just handling a lot of the administration stuff, looking at hiring contractors and employees and everything that goes into running a business, filing quarterly and monthly taxes. I mean, all types of stuff. You just really don't have to worry about or deal with if you're just a sales executive or a sales representative of a company. The good thing is the company I used to work for, we kind of ran it like a franchise where I just worked under a bigger umbrella.
Nice.
So that helped me to learn the ins and outs of running a business. So it was an easier transition when I decided to go out on my own.
Yeah. Nice. Excellent. So you really do love this business, and you were saying that you just really enjoyed it. What do you love about it?
Oh, well, one of our taglines is lighting should be experienced, and we want to make it an experience that you enjoy. And so to kind of go back to architecture, I love seeing things come to life that are kind of in your mind. Design wasn't my very strong suit, but I did enjoy doing that. And with lighting, I get to design light, and so the design part of it is really attractive to me. Doing drawings, doing photometric layouts, showing people before and after pictures using Google Earth images for, parking lot lighting, so to speak. And then the science side of it, just how far advanced LED technology is to traditional lighting technologies. That's something that really stirs up the nerdy side of me, so to speak.
Well, I have to say, back to your architecture, I had the same experience. I was going to be a structural engineer. And when I realized they sit in a room by themselves all day long, I was like, this is not for me. Luckily though, that was before I left college. I was in an internship and I got to pivot, but it's just so interesting, like architecture in a room by yourself and sales being, something that you really like as well, and putting those together.
Yeah, well, every business has a marketing side, has a sales side. And so even though I started off basically behind a computer doing drawings for 8 hours a day, I started to get in more into business development and going on meetings and presentations. And that's when I just really, my eyes just opened. I was like, wow, I would much rather do this than be behind a computer. If I could choose a percentage, I'd do 20% drawings and 80% out there marketing and building relationships and the selling side of it. And so BNI really helped with, just public speaking every week. Yeah. That was a big advantage, that was a fear that I had. I was like, I don't want to stand in front of a lot of people. But, looking back every week, you don't realize how much practice you get at that and how much it helps you when you're out building relationships, because no matter what you're doing, at some point you're in sales.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I think people miss that, right? I mean, even if you're in a corporate job, like I found when I learned marketing, I even became better at a corporate job, because in a corporate job, you're even just marketing yourself, right? For that next promotion, that next raise, all of those things. And I do think sometimes people miss when you are in business, like you are the face and the sales relationship builder of your actual business. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your BNI journey, and how did that work as you changed businesses and all of that as you went through that whole process?
Yeah, great question. So as I mentioned, I started BNI representing a home-based leadership business, and it was essentially wrapped around life coaching, so to speak. And through the training that BNI offers, they taught, visibility, credibility equals profitability, and that the magic behind BNI is getting to know the people in your group, doing the one-to-ones, finding out more about them and their story. And so as I did that, people got to know me as a person as opposed to just what I did. So it made the transition a lot easier. So I went from that business to actually selling wireless service through Verizon. And, once I said I'm going to change categories to being a sales rep for Verizon Wireless, people were like, great. Doesn't matter.
How fast do you think you got your first referral when you changed?
It definitely in the first month, Yeah. And I think actually that was an easier referral than my previous business, but I was at the top percentage of sales reps for Verizon, and a lot of it I know was due to BNI, and so that's where I actually met someone who was starting a lighting company and asked me to come join. And so when I made the transition from Verizon to lighting, it was an easy transition as well. And so a lot of the core members in our group, they were friends and they knew me, they knew my character, integrity, so forth, and vice versa. And so I knew that I can count on them, and they knew that they can refer me no matter what I was doing. Whatever I was representing, I would do a good job to their referrals.
So one of the things we say in BNI is like we use testimonials, right, inside the chapter meeting where we say, and the whole point of a testimonial is if I trust you and I stand up in front of the room and somebody in the room trusts me and I say, this is why you want to do business with Bryan, then immediately that third person goes, okay, well, maybe Bryan's okay because I trust Meaghan and Meaghan trusts Bryan, right? Absolutely. And it's just like this handoff. And so it's the same concept, right? Of like, Bryan chose this company. I know Bryan, this company must be good because I chose him. Bryan decided to do this on his own. It must be good because, and so there's just this less of a barrier that you ultimately end up having.
Yeah, absolutely. And BNI was really a big cushion for me because, everyone, I tell people the only thing that's constant in life is change. So things are going to change often, but when you're changing jobs, especially changing different, career paths, it can be stressful. It can be challenging. Yeah. But knowing that I had a core group of BNI members that were going to support me in whatever I was doing made that a lot easier.
Absolutely. And then you also have them around you that know exactly, a lot of them have started up too, right? And know exactly what you're going through.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. So what would you say is the biggest benefit of BNI to you as you've been around for 10 years?
Meeting people that otherwise I never would have met, building relationships and learning how to build successful relationships on a weekly basis. You don't realize, saying practice makes perfect. And, BNI has been so helpful with helping me build strong relationships, not just with BNI members, but with other people outside of BNI. And so learning how to do that, I think, would be the biggest benefit for me. There's been a great financial benefit, from being a part of BNI. But, if I were to think of the number one thing, it's just learning how to build successful relationships and building those relationships with other professionals in the world.
Yeah, I just was talking to a guy at a PTO meeting. I'm heavily involved in that right this minute with going back to school. And he was talking about his number one sales guy. And it was like a 23-year-old and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, the thing that he said was his key to success was he walked in, he's cold calling. He walked in 2 times, not asking for a sale at all, just to build and I was like, that's building relationships, right? Yeah. You've walked in the store that you're going to try and sell to. You get to know them a little bit more. And he just said, that was my rule of thumb. I walk in twice before I ever talk to them about anything else. And that is, you think about chambers, chamber events and things like that. It's the same thing. If I walk in just to get to know somebody at first, then later on, it's the building relationships piece. Yeah.
Absolutely. And if you're in a sales job, at some point you're going to go through some kind of a training, and most of them have what they call a role play, where they want to teach you their methodology of selling. Well, all of it is normally built around, finding out a need and fulfilling that need. And you practice that every single week with BNI. When you're doing a one-to-one with someone else, you're finding out what their need is, what they're looking for, and vice versa. And so you just don't understand how, when that becomes a part of your life on a weekly basis, you get really good at it. And so if you are in a sales position, you're essentially doing the same thing, just instead of a BNI member, you're doing it to a potential or an existing customer or client.
I never thought about that, because our one-to-ones are, what are you doing? Yeah. say a little bit more about that. Like, tell me about, like, walk somebody through a quickly, like an overview of a one-to-one, and then how that translates one more time. Because I think that's key. And I'd never thought about that before.
Yeah. So, when you go into a one-to-one, more than likely you've heard that member do a 60-second or maybe a 10-minute presentation, and you may have caught a few things that, you remember. And so you're like, hey, tell me a little bit more about this, and it's really just asking a few probing questions to get them to start talking. And usually things are discovered when you're listening to what they're wanting that triggers you and say, oh, I can help with that. And it may be 1 out of 10 things but you found one that you can help with. I know this person, I know that company, I can get you connected, so forth and so on. And that only comes out when you, spend 20, 30 minutes or an hour with someone and, listening to what their story is, not just really what they're promoting with their businesses, but their story, what likes and dislikes they have, and things about them. That's just the probing part. Usually comes out and brings a way that you can help someone.
So I remember I've learned many lessons from my father, but one of them was I was at some kind of thing with him, and it might have even been a chamber thing. He was coming with me I was up for an award or something. Anyway, and somebody came up to me and said, "Oh my gosh, your father, he's so interesting. And he's just so interesting." And I was like, no. Like, that does not sound like him at all. And I said, what makes him interesting? Well, he's such a great conversationalist. And I said, well, okay, so I'm curious, because it was somebody I had a relationship with. I'm like, so I just am curious, what do you know about him, having had that conversation? And they paused for a second, and they realized all he did was ask questions about them. They knew nothing about him whatsoever, but walked away thinking he was this amazing, great guy. So just showing interest in the other human being, even if you learn nothing about me in the process, like, automatically makes you a great conversationalist and a great guy. And I think that's what sales is, right?
Yeah, because we are our number one person in the world, so we like to talk about ourselves the most. And so if you are in a conversation with someone and, you got to be genuine. I mean, you someone that you're interested in what they have to say. And, if you just kind of dig a little bit deeper, tell me a little bit more about that, because that's how you find common ground. And it will make you seem like a great conversationalist when you really haven't said many things at all. Just asked a few questions. But
that's the relationship building part of it. So I do have another question about your business in particular. So if I hear someone say, I hate this lighting, because I actually have heard this recently. I have to remember who it was from. If somebody says, I really hate the way this lighting is that something that you can help design so it's actually more pleasing, as well as energy efficient?
Absolutely, because we've gotten that complaint several times, whether it's this lighting makes everything look blue, or it's, giving me headaches, it's flickering, so forth and so on. A lot of times when people say something like, I don't like the lighting at my job, or I don't like the lighting in this building, they may not know why, but I can come in and say, okay, well, this could make it a little bit, more pleasing to be inside. It could be lots of different things. It could be the color temperature, of the lights that they have. It can be the lights are too dim or they're too bright. And so we have measures that we can go in, take light readings, and look at what historically has been a good light level, a good light spread for this type of operation, and design according to that. And so, and then also we take feedback from the end users, looking at, what type of lighting do you like, and it may be something as simple as adding a dimmer switch to a fixture so that they can dim it up and down if they need to, or changing out the fixture to, something that's a little more aesthetically pleasing.
It's really funny because I remember as we were talking that, she was like, and we hate these lights. We were in a conference room. And I didn't really think of like, is that something that you'd like to do something about? Or, have you looked into your options? What would you say if you were in that room with me? What would you have said to her about when she made the comment about the lights?
I mean, I would ask a few more questions. It's like, what don't you like about it? And then go from there. If it's too bright in here, it's too harsh, or it's too reflective. I can't focus on my computer screen. Whatever the real issue that they don't like about it, then I would attempt to solve that issue. And that could be different placement. It can be different types of fixtures. Something that maybe has indirect light as opposed to direct light. It can be lots of different things. But the first thing I would say is, what don't you like about the lighting here? Got it.
And that's, like I said, that's what I love about BNI. I'll probably hear people complaining about lighting for the rest of, like, at least for the next 2 weeks, right? As I go through. But having that talking point of what don't you like about it, and then I can turn around to you, let you know what that is that they don't like about it, check to see if that would be something that you can fix, and then get you guys in contact.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. This is what I love about, like, again, it's just the building relationships, right? It's getting to know, and then now you are the only person who does what you do in our region specifically. And I bet there's not a million of you out there, but also just being a solutions provider, to say, hey, I can help you fix that, is another relationship building opportunity for me with her as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So is there anything, well, let me tell you, if someone was thinking about joining BNI, what advice would you give them?
First of all, I would say, if you're thinking about it, just go ahead and pull the trigger, because it's going to help you in some way or another. But, I would encourage them to visit chapters, try to find one that they feel like they can fit in, obviously that has a category that's open in what they do. And, if they're on the fence, I would say, see if you can maybe, do a few one-to-ones as a visitor with some of the members in that chapter, just so you can sort of get your feet wet. But if they would say, would you recommend it? I would say 100%, because, to have BNI is, it's like a playbook for building relationships. And through years and years of trial and error, they figured out a great system that works. And so it's beneficial in more ways than one, and which is great about BNI is, the giver's gain philosophy. You're going to get tenfold what you put into it. And so if you're looking to get a lot out of it, just pour more of yourself into it, because it's going to come back to you. And the financial gain, you will hear a lot of members say, oh yeah, it's great. My business has grown. I've done a lot of closed business, but that's the least gain that I've gotten, and that's huge. We've got some great numbers in closed business that I've heard astounding numbers. And, I've had a lot of success as well, but the relationships and the people that you get to meet and how they can be in your corner in all aspects of life it's immeasurable. So I would say 100% go for it, but try to find, a good fit for you. And if you're on the fence, meet with a few members in a potential chapter, and just go from there.
Well, you said a couple of things that I'm going to call it. You kind of have to have faith in the process that the right things will come. I mean, I know that's weird because it's feels out of control, but I tell people, like, just trust the process. And you mentioned, meeting people you've never met before, just organically, it just sort of happens. So who would be, I didn't prep you for this one. So what would be one of the most interesting contacts that you have made through BNI that you can think of?
Oh, wow.
Just kind of flowing. Someone that you never thought you would necessarily come in contact with in your everyday life.
Well, I got a referral to a big time developer here in Birmingham. And I mean, this person, owns multiple properties in, billions of dollars worth of real estate. And I never would have known his name, let alone been able to build a relationship with him and do work with this person. And so that was probably the best, one of the best referrals or contacts that I've received. And I received it, probably a year or two after I got into the lighting industry. And so, but it's paid very good dividends. And so, just meeting someone in the development, arena, I wouldn't even have known how to go about finding out who that person is, let alone, figuring out a way to get connected with them.
So you got the information about who you were you got the information about who the person was through the network, not only the introduction as well. So it was even the information of who I'm supposed to be talking to was part of what you did gain.
Exactly. And I can't remember specifically how the referral came out, but I know I've always asked for property managers, facility managers, people that are doing maintenance on buildings, the changing light bulbs all the time. We can solve that issue because we can eliminate the maintenance. So I guess that probed an idea of someone's mind. It's like, hey, this is my friend. He owns this building and 4-story building, hundreds of lights in there. And I think you guys would be a good connection, and got us connected, and the rest is history, as they say.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. Yesterday, I was at a chapter meeting, and one of the hardest things to do is to get people to be specific. Like, you're in an industry where you could literally Google property managers and developers and all that kind of stuff and try and get names so that you can use names and things like that. But it's so hard to get people to believe that works, number one, and then 2, actually do it. And yesterday, it was so funny. I did an education moment on being specific, and then on a whim, they were semi-specific. But what was hilarious is every single person who was specific, somebody in the room said literally they knew somebody in the company that they were looking for. And the right person. I mean, it was like, one of them was, oh yeah, my friend owns it. It's just like, we're talking like a big company. Oh yeah, my friend owns it. Yeah. So it's just so crazy when you can get really specific. It's just amazing who knows who in the room. Yeah, and you said it's a friend. It was the person's friend was the developer, not even a professional relationship necessarily.
Exactly. And it's so funny how you can say, hey, I'm looking for business owners. And if you leave it at that, whether you say, I'm looking for the owner of XYZ company, and the person that knows the owner of XYZ company can hear you say business owners every week and never put those two together. But when they hear, a specific name of a company that they automatically in their brain tied to someone else, then they can say, oh yeah, he owns that company. He or she owns that company. I'll get you connected. And you're like, well, I've been asking for business owners every week. Well, if you get more specific, that's how our minds work. When we can really tie something that we know to something specific in our lives, you being specific helps other people do that to help you.
Absolutely. I think also, if you say business owner to me, there are 750 BNI members across Northern Alabama, I immediately shut down because I got to sift through 750 people. But if you say, Bryan Bell, I'm like, oh yeah, I know Bryan, but you're right. I would never, it's just effort, right? How much effort are you asking everyone to put in as well? Yeah. So, so anything that you have not mentioned that you think would be good for our listeners to hear? Is that about your business or about BNI in general?
One of the other advantages we haven't talked about is the network of BNI. And, with me being a lighting solutions provider, we do a lot of work all over the Southeast. And so what that means is I need lighting or electrical contractors or electricians. I need a lot of them in my back pocket because I never know where I'm going to be. And so I've utilized BNI Connect to find people in Mobile, in Louisiana, in Georgia, that it's funny because I'll say, hey, I'm reaching out to you. I've got a potential job. Would you like to give me a quote for it? And the first place I go is BNI Connect, because to me, I feel like I know that person has gone through a membership interview, so to speak, and they've been vetted. And so I would rather do that than go to Google and look for a specific service in that particular area. And what's funny is, a lot of those companies now buy lights from me, and so I've reached out, given them business, and now they're returning it, with repeat business to me. And so like, oh, you supply lights? Well, I do lighting all around here and I need a place to get lights from. So I'll get them from you from now on. So it's been great. The network, the BNI Connect, and the network that BNI provides has been a great asset and a great tool for me to use in expanding my business outside of the state.
And there's one thing that you didn't mention is you need to have your BNI Connect profile updated if you have competition in the area, because you are picking the person that you can learn about on the profile, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I've seen some profiles where there's not even a phone number or a website. It's just a business name and a photo. And I'm like, well, I don't know how to get in contact with you. They could be the best at what they do, but if I don't have any information, then I'm probably going to go to the next person. So yeah, it's very important to fill out your BNI Connect profile, because you never know who's out there looking for what you can provide. And obviously, if you're in business, you want people to contact you and you want to be visible. That's the visible part of visibility, credibility, profitability.
So a call to action, all electricians in the Southeast United States, you definitely want to get your profiles updated without a doubt, just in case.
Yeah.
Just in case. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Bryan. This was great. A lot of great nuggets. I mean, even like massive ahas for me. So thank you so much for being here. It was an honor to have you.
Well, it was an honor to be on. Thank you so much for having me, and I hope we get to talk soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. All right, next week we have Kirsten, who is going to be on our call. She is in advertising. So this is going to be a really interesting one, because we are going to be able to talk about how referral-based marketing and advertising can really work together. So please do join us live again next week at 10 a.m. Central. And with that, have a fabulous week. And I hope you start to think about relationships and how you're going to build those relationships going forward. Talk to you next week.